So I think the why has to be there for sure.
So how do you get there? Because I mean, yours was like a something what I would call a shock,
Yeah.
right? And how do we get people to not have a shock to actually get a why?
You know what? This is fascinating. I love that you're asking these questions. We're coming up on New Year's right now, right? And this actually came out of a book. It's Think and Grow Rich, right? And in the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, he talked about this idea of having a major definite aim. And those who have a major definite aim, a clear vision, a why, they achieve far more, become far more capable than anyone else. And it's simply because they're building their life today based off of a future desire versus the past, right? Most people are living a life on repeat. It's just a cycled set of habits. But if you can have a very, very clear major definite aim, and I've got it on my phone. So for me, I have a major definite aim. I have pictures associated with it. I've created a movie for myself. I watch, it's like a little trailer.
Really?
Yeah. I watch it every single day. And I've updated this so many times. But, I've asked people this question, we do game plans in our community. And the number one question I ask them before we ever get to the tactics are, what do you want? And it seems like a simple question, right? But I can't even tell you how many times people have told me what they don't want.
Yeah,
Right?
that's normal.
People are very, very unclear about what they want. So anyone listening to this right now, my challenge to you would be right now, over the course of this year, define a major definite aim. What do you want and why does it matter? Get a clear vision in your head of the life that you want to live, what it'll look like, feel like, and be like. Get your emotions involved, your senses involved, because once you do that and you repeat it to yourself over and over and over again, it'll go from a conscious desire down to your subconscious brain. And once it gets to your subconscious, all the things that your mind is currently blocking out, filtering out for you, it'll now start to filter in because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between today, tomorrow, and yesterday.
Well,
So
if you have a care,
it doesn't care.
Right.
Yeah. So if I have a clear, major, definite aim in my brain that I drive the car I want to drive, I live in the house I want to live in, I send my kids to the schools I want to send them to, and I come back to my present moment, if my life doesn't align with that, then my subconscious mind goes crazy. It starts now opening up the things that it was previously filtering out to start to align my lived reality with my desired reality.
So let's talk about defining enough too, because you do talk about that. So you said you prioritize lifestyle quality over revenue benchmark.
Here is the one word, okay? And I believe this is the key to freedom, and you just said it, Danille. It's enough. Right, we live in a consumer-driven world today, which means there are no end to the things that we can buy and do. And Ken, you and I were just having this conversation that at some point you're going to get to the point where you'll realize money, it's not the reason that you're going to do more, right? You're going to have enough money, right? And what are you going to spend it on? Is another car going to make you happy? Is another house going to make you happy? Is another vacation going to make you happy? And so for me, my wife and I, we've been super, super clear about this over the last 4 or 5 years in our game plan. We sit down and we define how much money we want to have coming into our life, what we're willing to do to get it, and then what enough is in terms of traveling, the cars that we drive, the house that we live in. And then once we've defined that, we're free. We're free. I mean, if you're constantly looking for the next thing, there's always a trade-off in life, time and money. And if you're willing to make the trade-off to get to the next level of enough, then make the trade-off. But once you've found what your enough point is, then you can truly be financially free. And that doesn't mean, I believe financial freedom, once you understand the game that Kiyosaki explained, cash flow greater than expenses, that is a lifestyle. It's not a destination like retirement. Retirement is save up a big pile of money and hope you don't outspend it before you die. Where financial freedom is cash flow greater than expenses. If I get to a point with my wife and I, we're like, hey, you know what? We want to start traveling 3 months out of the year instead of 2 weeks out of the year. Well, how much income, cash flow do we have to create to keep that expense in line? And we just start playing that game. But if we get to a point where we're like, hey, we've got enough, then at that level, we're free.
And the other thing I believe that it's a really good question, Danielle. When you're younger, you believe that you've got years.
Yeah.
That's the fallacy.
Yeah.
Now, we have plenty of friends that have gotten real sick. Some have made it, some have not made it. Life jumps in.
Yeah.
Your plans get changed. And, I love Mike Tyson. He's like, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Right. And that's essentially a life change. And and then all of a sudden you start to get this guilt. Right. So I think that, also if you're lucky enough to become financially, let's say, secure and financially free, then your priorities really change too. Some people, they just want more. right? But then your priorities kind of move, and all along they're right in front of you, because the reality is the only thing that matters are relationships and family and health. Actually, that's it.
That's it.
There's nothing else. The rest are all just things you can buy.
Well,
You can't buy those other things.
When you go back to that major definite aim and you get clear on what it is you actually want, it comes down to exactly that: family, relationships, and health, right? That's what it comes down to. And so if you can get clear on that, then you realize it's not an unfathomable sum of money that will get you there. In fact, oftentimes when my wife and I sit down and we get clear on what we actually want, we realize so many of the things that we want, it has to do with money, but very little to do with money beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's beyond a certain point, because, it's easy to say that money doesn't matter when you have it. For those people struggling, out there, it's a very, front and center,
Oh.
right? And so how do you counterbalance people that say your advice is kind of assuming time, autonomy, and optionality, and maybe they are in a situation where they're paycheck to paycheck, they have a bunch of kids, they have no time? Like, what advice would you have for that person?
I think I read this in the book, The One Thing, if I remember right. So I think I read it there. So they talked about this idea of a game of dominoes, right? And in a game of dominoes, a domino, when you tip over a domino, it has enough momentum and energy to knock over the next domino and subsequent 50% bigger. And I cannot remember how many dominoes